everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my card for the Clair Stamps April Challenge and a little bit of paper piecing along the way. Now this challenge is super easy to play along with. You just need to create a card or project using the photo as inspiration and post your project and link on the Clair blog. Any brand of stamps is acceptable. We love to see Clair, but we know not everybody has them, so you can use whatever you have on hand. A few other requirements: you must link directly to the Clair Stamps blog. Your project must be new. The number of entries is unlimited, and you just need to add a direct link to the end links on the Clair blog. I'll leave a link down below to more details on all the rules on the Clair Stamps blog, as well as the link up. Now to start my card off with, I am using the Christmas Cocoa stamp set. This is a great stamp set. It's one of the larger ones, and it has these two cups in it that I'll be using. The rest of the stamp set's awesome. I've used it before. I'll leave a link to that in the top right hand corner. I've actually used it, I think, a few times. So I'll leave whatever I can't link in the top right hand corner down below in the description box as well. I've got my two little cups loaded onto acrylic blocks, and I've also chosen a few pattern papers that coordinate not only with the inspiration photo but also with each other. Now, I am horrible at coordinating things. I'm horrible at coordinating my own clothes, for that matter. But what I like to do is, I don't have a lot of room for pattern paper. Most of the time I make it myself. But in the cases that I want to do something like paper piecing, it's really helpful for me to have 6x6 paper pads on hand, just because I can kind of pull from the same pad. I know it's going to go well together. They're going to coordinate beautifully, and I don't have to put a lot of thought into it. So that's what I'm doing here. I've got these two papers that coordinate with each other. One is more of a masculine, the other is more of a feminine look. With the masculine one, I stamped it on the pattern paper and also on white cardstock. With the rounder cup, I'm stamping it on white cardstock and pattern paper with a more feminine look. I'm also going to be adding some toppers to these little guys, and these are included in the stamp set. What I want to do though to create a lighter look with this gray ink that I have, I stamp it once and then I just do second generation stamping, and I'll be using the lighter of the two. Now I'm going to fussy cut each one of these stamped images that I made. They're each going to be a little bit different though. For the pattern paper ones, I'm cutting them exactly on the line except for that top portion that would be kind of the inside of the mug. I'm cutting that part off, and I'll use my little craft knife to go in that handle portion, really to get in the nooks and crannies. Make sure I'm cutting everything right on the lines on this top portion. Now, it is important on the first one you cut to cut right on the lines. So I took my time with these. The only thing I did that was a little bit off on these is I took off the inside of the cup, and you'll see why in just a moment. I also went ahead and did the fussy cutting on my cream colored cup. That one I cut on the inside of the lines. I want it to be smaller than my flower cup that I just cut. I want it to be smaller everywhere except the top portion that would be the inside of the cup. I also cut the handle off so I didn't have to worry about cutting it out just perfectly to fit behind the other one. I didn't need it on that one, so I just chopped it off. I did the same exact techniques on the blue cup and the white cup that's going to be the background on it. And I should mention, I stamped these in a very light ink so you can barely see the stamped lines, and that was Desert Sand from Memento. You could use Antique Linen Distress Ink, that would work just as well. I also cut out the second generation stamping of the top portions of the cup, the little inserts that I'm going to be doing. I didn't show that because it's just basic fussy cutting. Now moving on to my next step, I want to go ahead and put some dry embossing on my little panel that I'm going to be matting everything onto. This is a piece of cardstock that I had on hand. I think this one might be from Paper Train. I'm not quite sure on that. I don't really keep my papers separate. If you have something similar that will work, great. I just kind of go with what I have on hand. I went ahead and put that through my Big Shot with my embossing folder, and now I'm going to do some die cutting. I've got this die set from Inspired by Stamping that I'm going to be using today, and There are a ton of these out there that have these kind of looks to them, like a lot of the Spellbinder sets. So I die cut the matte from white. I die cut a banner from a blue cardstock that matched the blue cup that I used. And now I'm going to pull out some hearts from a die set I have. And I'm going to cut these from that same color of the matte, like that deep dark burgundy red that I used for the matte. I'm going to cut some hearts with that. I die cut the 3 smallest from the set I had, and then I'll also die cut them from some, it's kind of a rose gold glitter paper from American Crafts. I'll go ahead and run that through with the same 3 hearts that I used beforehand. Now, glitter paper is notoriously hard to die cut, but this die cuts beautifully every time I try to, even with these teeny tiny ones that I used. Now, to put this card together, this is not my typical card. It's very much out of my comfort zone. A lot of layers, a lot of things going on with it. One tip I can give you when you're doing layers is use a strong adhesive. So I went ahead and I've got my top folding A2 size white card base. I matted on my dry embossed mat. I used score tape for that, and then I went ahead and put on my next little die cut that was from white cardstock, and I put that down with score tape as well. You can use a liquid glue if you want to. You get a little bit of play time with that. However, you need to make sure it is a strong liquid glue, especially when you're doing all these layers. The last thing you want is something heavy like that pulling on the glue and then kind of falling apart in the mail as you put it through. The mail service is pretty rough on things, especially if it's going overseas. So you just want to make sure you use a strong glue whenever you're using a lot of layers. Now it was time to put the cups together. Whenever I fussy cut those little top portions, those little toppers in my cup, I left a little bit of a tail on them on the bottom. That allowed me to put a little bit of glue on there, attach them to the front of the cup, and then place the back on to kind of snug everything in. You could see when I fussy cut those, I fussy cut them smaller, so I didn't have to worry about placement so much. I just needed to make sure they were lined up with the top of the cup. Now I'm going to be placing some thread behind these cups. The glue from my cups is going to hold that thread in place, so I am making sure I use a strong glue. This is score tape, but this is a full sheet, so I am using fun foam in this full sheet to really get the most out of this. That thread behind there is going to, it's not going to impede these from sticking to that cardstock, but it makes it a lot tougher for these to really get a secure hold and to hold that thread in place. So that's why I'm using this. It's a lot stronger, and it just works out a lot better for me using these full pieces of adhesive on the back of the foam tape. So I cut them to size to fit behind those cups, and then I'll place another piece of that score tape on the back, and then I snip them apart so I didn't have to do that beforehand and get everything stuck to my scissors. And I'll place these right on the back of those cups. Once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and start with my thread. Now I am using plain white thread behind these cups. You can use whatever you have on hand. Gold would be pretty, silver would be great, clear would be awesome too. I just have white on hand, so I'm going to take this and wrap it around my fingers quite a few times. I want quite a big messy nest of thread. So I'm wrapping that around 4 of my fingers. You can go as wide as you want to with this, and then I'll snip it off once I have a good amount. Now I'll put that down right on top of that little white die cut that I have and just spread it out with my fingers. There's not really a rhyme or reason to this. I just spread it out and keep spreading it and moving things around until I'm happy with the placement. Then I lift my hands away very carefully, and I'll go in and place these cups right over the top. Once I put these down, I need to make sure that I have them where I want them, because they're not going to go anywhere with this really strong adhesive on the back of them once I put them down. This isn't something I could pull back up. So I place those both down. I overlap the more feminine cup on top of the blue one, and I really want to give those a good press to make sure they've got the thread secured behind them. It's not going anywhere, and I also tuck both ends of the thread behind there, so that's going to lock them into place. Now for my sentiment, I am using the Rose Sentiment stamp set from Clair. I pulled out the With Love sentiment. I'm using my Mini Misty and my Creative Corners so I can bump up that little banner that I die cut, and I don't have to worry about kind of smushing my stamp or not getting a great stamp with it the first time. I'm using Memento Rich Cocoa to stamp this down a few times. I put some dimensional adhesive on the back of that, and I'll place that right on top of both cups. This has a whole lot of layers going on, but it's not my normal style, but I do love the way it turned out. Now to add even more layers, I'm going to go ahead and add all those little hearts that I die cut earlier, both the dark red burgundy and also the glitter ones. I didn't plan on putting these both down, but I did love the look of them both together. And how I did this was I went ahead and placed them down first, kind of got the positions right, and then I go in with my quick sticks tool and I pick them up one by one, put little dots of glossy accents or whatever strong adhesive you want to use, and then I just go right back in, pick it back up with my quick sticks tool, and I can place it down over that dot of adhesive. This allows me to put everything down first, move it around as I want to, make sure I like it, and then I can go ahead and go in and glue everything right down. I don't have to worry about fussing with glue or getting glue where I don't want it, and then the cleanup of that. Now the very last thing I want to do on this card is actually add a little bit of something to the background and on that dry embossing. There are these little dots that come with that pattern, and I'm going to cover those dots with a little bit of liquid pearls. This is in, I believe, the opal shade, and I am just squirting little tiny dots of this right over those dots that are already in the pattern. Now there are a few places where I felt like it didn't have enough, so I went in and created my own little dots, but this is super easy and it adds a little bit of something extra to that background. There is a closer look at the finished card. I am so happy with the way this turned out and happy that I stepped outside of my comfort zone for this challenge. Here's a closer look at the finished card and all of the details and layers on it. If you want to participate in this challenge, I am going to leave that link down below. Make sure you hop on over to the Clair Stamps blog, check out the rest of the design team's inspiration for this challenge, and you'll find the link up over there as well. Thank you guys so much for watching today. You're going to see a few different links on the left side of your screen that you can click on. Happy crafting, everyone.